Kansas City 911 dispatch.
Please, I'm shot. 7001 East 85th Terrace. My boyfriend shot too. I can't fucking get up. Please hurry up.
7001 East 85th Terrace.
Correct.
Is that a house or an apartment?
Yeah, it's a house. Come on, man. I can't fucking move.
What's your name? Who shot you?
I don't fucking know. Please hurry up.
Victor Vickers, by all accounts, should be on the streets free today.
Did you know that under the current laws, you can be sentenced to die in prison? Even if you have evidence to prove that you are innocent. As you are about to witness, that is exactly what happened to Victor Vickers Jr. But with your help, this injustice can be fixed, and this one case of wrongful conviction can change the law for the entire country. In August 2011, Victor Vickers, aka VV, had one of the best and worst months of his life. First, he hosted a hugely successful pool party in his hometown of Kansas City, Missouri, that was attended by over 1,000 people. Just 2 days later, he was wrongfully accused of participating in a murder. The state's evidence against Vickers consisted of only one eyewitness, who initially told the 911 operator that she did not know who was responsible for the crime.
Who shot you?
I don't fucking know. They ran out the door.
The 911 call was the first clear piece of evidence that the witness did not know who the attackers were. After officers arrived on the crime scene, the witness told officers that the suspects were driving a silver Pontiac Grand Prix and that she only recognized one of the 3 men who were allegedly responsible for the crime. The dispatch is clear that Vickers was not named as a suspect by the witness at that time, which is a second sign that she may have been mistaken in her later identification.
It's going to be 3 black males armed with guns. One of the suspects, last name is Briggs. Boy Robert, Ida George, George Sam. First name is Guerin, and I'm just taking a guess. It's going to be George Adam Robert Ocean Nora. The black male, unknown age. They're going to be occupying a gray Pontiac Grand Prix.
Victor Vickers came to me when he and his cousin Guerin Briggs were being sought by the police for the murder of Mr. Briggs and Mr. Vickers obviously needed 2 different attorneys, so another attorney friend of mine and I represented each party. We contacted the police department. We told the police that Mr. Vickers and Mr. Briggs were going to surrender. We wrote up formal notices to the police department that neither Mr. Briggs nor Mr. Vickers were going to make statements. Because you know that no matter what, when a guy goes in and talks to the police, it's going to come back on him. No matter what you say. Even if you're innocent. Especially if you're innocent. So Mr. Vickers and Mr. Briggs surrendered voluntarily to the police. Because they wanted to be exonerated of these charges. Mr. Vickers got arrested and charged with the murder of After the charges get filed in a murder case, the attorneys are given all of the discovery. That is, all of the evidence that's available to the prosecutors, that evidence having been collected by the police. To my mind, one of the most important pieces of evidence in the homicide was the surviving victim missed 911 call. If a person's been shot, and they pretty much believe they're going to die, their words in that instant are given so much credibility that if a person's been shot and reasonably believes they're going to die, what they say in that time is given so much credibility that it is an exception to the hearsay rule. You know, that's the rule in court where judges keep out statements by other people if they can't be in court to get cross-examined. But a person dying, their words are given huge weight. Words, when she was shot, thought she was dying, her first words to the 911 call taker are, Who shot you? I don't fucking know. Now, if I've been shot and I'm dying, or at least think I'm dying, and I know I may be giving up my last sentence, if I have any frickin' notion who it was that took my life, by God, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell anybody I can possibly get that information to. Did not know. As she lay there waiting for the 911 responders, she put together, this is what I believe the evidence would have shown, she put together a scenario where somebody she thought she knew had a car similar to the one she thought she saw, and she gave the name of that person to the police.
A neighbor of the woman told police that he had seen the suspects leave the scene in a white vehicle, not a silver one. The neighbor's testimony was a third clear sign of proof that the witness did not know who the attackers were, and that she was more than likely mistaken in her identification of Briggs. On the same day of the crime, detectives located the silver Pontiac that the witness alleged to have been involved in the crime. Detectives determined that there was nothing of evidentiary value in the silver Pontiac. That was the fourth clear sign that the witness was mistaken in her identification. After arriving at the hospital, where she was surrounded by family and friends who knew that Briggs and Vickers are first cousins, the witness then told detectives that Vickers may have been the second of 3 suspects, and that she was unable to identify the third male. Without any further investigation of the witness's statements, Vickers and Briggs were charged with first-degree murder. In September 2013, the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office dismissed the charges against Vickers right before trial was scheduled to begin. It is reasonable to assume that even the prosecution doubted the credibility of its only witness, so it initially dismissed the case due to the lack of evidence. There was no physical evidence, no DNA, no fingerprints, and no weapon connecting Briggs nor Vickers to the crime.
The police took the information provided by and put Victor Vickers in the case. Victor Vickers is now serving life without parole. Here's a man convicted of first-degree murder wrongfully when absolutely no physical evidence supports the conviction. Not only that, Mr. Vickers, who wrapped himself in the cloak of protection our Constitution provides by not incriminating himself talking to the police. Mr. Vickers, when he was ultimately brought to trial, decided it was time to let everybody know where he was the night of the murder.
2 years later, in 2015, charges were refiled on the basis of the same evidence. After nearly 5 years total, Vickers was finally taken to trial in May 2016. Due to the 4-year delay between the initial filing of the charges and the refiling, Vickers was no longer able to pay his private attorney, and he was forced to go to trial with a Missouri public defender. It is a known fact that the Missouri Public Defender's Office is one of the most overloaded and overworked in the country. Vickers' public defender had several trials in the months and weeks before his. Several months before trial, Vickers told his public defender's assistant that he was at home during the time of the crime, and that he had a witness who could testify and verify that fact.
Advise the court, we do have an alibi witness. The judge in Mr. Vickers' trial ruled that Mr. Vickers' attorney did not notify the court and the prosecutor of the existence of this alibi witness with enough time for the prosecutor to check out the story. It's unbelievable in the United States criminal justice system that a man who's facing losing his life in prison is not afforded the opportunity to present the alibi witness.
The witness was critical to show another clear piece of evidence that the eyewitness was mistaken in her identification. The public defender did not inform the prosecutor and judge about the witness until the morning of trial. As a result, the prosecutor told the judge that the witness should not be able to testify because the witness should have been disclosed earlier. The public defender offered to agree to a continuance to give the prosecutor time to investigate the witness, but rather than take that fair approach, the witness was excluded from testifying.
The other disturbing thing about the Victor Vickers case is that the lead detective in the homicide case was later fired because it was proven that he lied in certain cases. and that he intentionally, in another homicide case, said things on the stand that he knew would get the case dismissed or get the case retried. Victor Vickers, by all accounts, should be on the streets free today. It's absolutely inconceivable that in the United States of America's criminal justice system, in any jurisdiction, that a man against whom the evidence is so weak and so lacking is serving life in prison without parole. He gives up his DNA voluntarily to the police. He has an alibi witness that the court won't consider. The lead cop on the case was crooked. And the witness's own statement right after the homicide was she didn't know who did it.
Vickers' case is now in front of the Supreme Court of the United States. Vickers is asking the Supreme Court to make a ruling that every person has a constitutional right to present a defense, and that prosecutors and judges violate that right when they exclude evidence that could prove a defendant's innocence. Under the current laws, you or one of your loved ones could easily be wrongfully convicted and sent to prison, even if you have evidence to prove you are innocent. If you do not want to be the next innocent person wrongfully sent to prison, share this story as your vote to ask the Supreme Court to change the law.
I sure hope Mr. Vickers is exonerated of this homicide, and more importantly, I hope the actual killers have been brought to justice.